What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Thursday edition of the show where we have a lot of Tennessee football to talk about, and we've got help to do it all. Justin Hobbs, the guy who runs the popular Volnatic page on TikTok, arguably the biggest Tennessee sports page on TikTok. I can almost guarantee you've seen some of his content and you may just not know it, or you do. Again, some great content. He's going to join the show today to help us talk about it all. This isn't going to be a pushover. Mississippi State is a good team this year. It feels like a trap game of sorts, and we're going to discuss all of that and what the Vols need to do to go into the hostile environment of Stark Vegas this Saturday and get the win. But before we get into any of that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, share it. All of that stuff is greatly appreciated, and I appreciate you guys for joining me on this Thursday morning. So like I said, man, this doesn't feel like the normal Mississippi State. They're undefeated with a veteran quarterback. This fan base is behind this team. They're behind Jeff Lebby. It's going to be a whiteout. Those cowbells are going to be loud this Saturday. I'm telling you, this game might be a little closer than some people think. But to talk about it all, we've got Justin Hobbs joining us. So let's get right into that, and here he is. And welcome back, everybody, and welcome our friend Justin Hobbs. Volnatic on TikTok, one of the biggest Tennessee pages on TikTok. Justin, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. You all right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for coming on. So, Justin, we'll talk a little bit about you and then jump straight into the Tennessee football side of things, what people want to hear. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into it? Obviously, you've grown a huge page on that platform now. Tell us about all that.
Yeah, man. So I was born in 1997, and my papa, he's still alive and well. Actually, had season tickets from 1979 to 2013. So from the time my first game was against South Carolina in Columbia, I believe in 2001, and ever since then, man, I was at just about every home game from about 2001 to 2013. So it was just kind of I was born into it, man.
Yeah, yeah. And then you've grown such a huge following on TikTok again. Not sugarcoating it at all. Really is one of the biggest. I've been watching Justin's stuff for a long, long time. We met each other on TikTok, and he's been a great guy. I really encourage all of you guys to go follow his stuff. Is there anything else you want to say about your page or anything before we get into the Tennessee football talk?
Yeah, man. So I have people ask me all the time. I'm almost to 42,000. I would like to be at 50 before the end of the year, but we'll see. I need to start going live and stuff like that more because I really got a big following whenever I'd go live every night, college basketball, college football, whatever. But really it started two and a half years ago or so, and I found a bunch of like old clips from like, let's say like the 1998 national championship game, 1991 Sugar Bowl, just old clips that I remember actually being inside Neyland Stadium watching
Yeah.
Tennessee. Started posting it. This was long before I was ever monetized, anything like that. Just posting for the fun of it. And I had three or four different videos that kind of took off, started to get a little bit of a followage. A bunch of older people that remember some of those games back in the
Yeah.
80s and 90s and all that fun stuff. And really, I've only been posting like my face on camera Tennessee stuff related a year, maybe something like that. And I've met a lot of cool people, including yourself. Some football players, basketball players, baseball, the parents of some of the athletes. I've met past athletes at Tennessee. It's just really, man, it's something I enjoy to do. I just like to talk Tennessee sports, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm right there in that boat with you. So let's talk Tennessee sports while we're here. Tennessee's got a big one, an SEC game in Starkville this year. Not to take shots, my fans know, my people that are on this show consistently know that I'm the most pro Josh Heupel person that there is. But the elephant in the room, kind of with his coaching tenure at Tennessee, is that he has struggled on the road, whether that be a big game or a trap game like Arkansas last year. Mississippi State's not a bad team. I know a lot of people probably think that we're just going to go into Starkville and beat up on them. They brought Arizona State into Starkville early on in this year, a former playoff team just like ourselves, and beat them. Again, Blake Shapen looks very good this year. So, what does Tennessee have to do to continue to be that big offensive powerhouse that they've been through the SEC so far this year into Starkville?
So really, for me, they just have to keep it the same, essentially.
Yeah.
Joey Aguilar, A lot of people had a lot of hope in him coming into the season, and a lot of other people, especially in different fan bases, were talking about how bad he was, how many picks he threw, stuff like that. But so far through 4 weeks, man, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, almost 1,200 yards through the air. Joey's played a lot of football, and he understands how to play the game of football. So the big thing for me, man, Tennessee's got a 3-headed monster in the backfield with Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis. The offensive line has been great with no David Sanders yet this season. The receivers, people want to talk about Chris Brazzell, rightfully so, but you've also got Bretland Staley, who's top 10 in the SEC right now in receiving yards. And you've got a Mike Matthews, a former 5-star top 25 country that is ready for, I think, that breakout moment. He's had good games so far, but I think this could be the type of game if you want to go on the road and get a essential big-time win. I know they're not ranked right on the cusp of it. Tennessee's just got to keep doing what they've been doing. Offenses look good. Cut down the penalties some. I still think, some of those pre-snap penalties, stuff like that, have really, hurt them in a sense. But kind of like you said, man, Josh Heupel's 1-3 in his last 4 road games as Tennessee's head coach. And, I mean, it really goes back to 2022. I don't even want to talk about it, but it goes back to South Carolina. And then 2020 was Missouri. 2024 was Arkansas. Here's to hoping and praying that it doesn't happen again Saturday evening in Starkville.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you've just got to be disciplined. You're right. You've got to keep it the same. You've got to be able to run the ball. But going on the road, this offensive line has played incredible football through the first quarter of the year. They've got to keep up with that. Georgia did a great job coming into Neyland and limiting the pre-snap penalties, especially false starts and things like that. A lot of things that you see commonly when you go on the road. These guys have got to be disciplined on that side of things. And I just feel like Josh Heupel, he can't get conservative with the play calling if you get up big, because last year I feel like you had the defense that you could be conservative and you just knew that we were going to get a stop. Especially like last year, the first game that comes to mind for me is Oklahoma. I felt like we got kind of conservative there in the second half, but our defense, and credit to Oklahoma's offense just being that bad last year, but our defense was just good enough to just kind of cruise us through the rest of the game as long as Nico and company just didn't mess up. This year, I still think this defense, when it gets to 100%, is going to be atop the SEC, but they're not right now. So they've got to be, I think you've got to keep the foot on the gas the entire game and let Joey air this one out really the entire game.
Yep. I mean, I agree 100%. Really, last year was in a sense, people want to talk about how good James Pierce Jr. was, which rightfully so. 1st-round draft pick, great talent at Tennessee. But really what Tennessee was so good at last year was stopping the run up the middle. They had some big guys in the middle. Really right now, I think my biggest concern going into Starkville and as SEC play continues to go on and on and on, because you're about to see some really good quarterbacks. Blake Shapen's no pushover. He knows how to run the offense. Jeff Lebby, young coach, but he knows how to call offensive plays. It's going to be a wide out. The cowbells are going to be going, man.
I was about to say that play is going to get loud.
I mean, they're going to be going, but really my biggest concern is nobody wants to throw Colton Hood's way. Rightfully so. He's played really well this year. But then you've got on the other side a freshman in Ty Redmond, who has played well, but in some aspects has had his growing pain. But long story short, defensively, I'm with you. I'm not so sure that this defense is as full of depth, but I also think, like you said, once they get healthy as the season goes on, it's going to be really good once again.
Yeah, and you get a big piece in Jackson Moy, who I think is arguably your best defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman, whatever you want to call it, on this roster. He's been out for a couple weeks. He's coming back for the Mississippi State game. There could be some more guys sprinkled in. I don't think David Hobbs is going to play. Again, Ricky and Dermott, I just don't see them playing. But you're getting a big piece back for that defensive line. How big is that for the Vols for the Mississippi State game? But as they get through SEC play, just getting the rest of these guys back.
Yes. So kind of like you said earlier too, Mississippi State, whenever you look at their schedule ahead of the season, you had Kenny Dillingham and Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson coming in. Well, Mississippi State wins that game, right? So really getting Jackson Moy back is huge in a sense, because a lot of people forget who Mississippi State's starting running back is. It's Fluff Bothwell, who's really, really good. He's a brute. He runs downhill. He runs hard. And if you go back to, I'm not saying Mississippi State has as good of a running game as Georgia does or as big of an offensive line, but, you saw Georgia at times in that game at will whenever they wanted to. They were able to just run the ball down Tennessee's throat.
Yeah.
And that was driving me nuts all day, man. But, I had to reflect and really tell myself, like, hey, David Hobbs is not there. Jackson Moy is not there. You've got, guys like Tyree West and Bryson Eason and Dom Bailey playing 60-plus snaps. I don't care how good of shape you're in whenever you're 6'2",
when you're that big.
You
can only be in such good shape.
Yeah, right. So, but getting back to your original question, having Jackson Moy kind of in that Omari Thomas role from last year. Omari Thomas was really good stuffing the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know how healthy Jackson Moy is. I'm sure he's amped up and ready to go this weekend. But I think it's a really big deal per se.
Yeah. And on the defensive line, it's big, but it also helps, the back level. It helps Arion Carter, who has played incredible this year, leads the SEC in sacks. It feels like we have somebody at a position group all over the field that's leading the SEC in something, which is a great stat to have. Chris Brazel, Aguilar, all these guys are leading the SEC in something, I guess you'd put it. But you're right. This run game is no pushover. Fluff Bothwell was really good at South Alabama last year. I feel like Mississippi State as a whole is kind of just underrated because, again, they've kind of been thought, at least the last few years, as a pushover in the SEC. But they're undefeated. This fan base is behind them because who in the world thought they would have been undefeated since they had to play Arizona State the second game of the year? But I think this is going to be a very hostile environment. They've got a veteran QB in Blake Shapen. I don't think this is going to be an easy game for the Vols by any stretch of the imagination. This feels like a trap game, in my opinion.
It seems like we roll up on these type of trap games every single year.
Twice a year.
Yeah, going back to the Josh Heupel 1-3 record in his last 4 road games or whatever, and then we talked about South Carolina, Missouri, and then Arkansas. This is like a prime spot for a young head coach in Jeff Lebby, who has, like I said, a respectable, good dual threat, if you want to say, quarterback in Blake Shapen. Because if you turn on the tape with him, he can run if the pocket.
He'll get out of the pocket, yeah.
Sure. And but I just think that this is one of those games that the line has shrunk from, I believe it was 9.5 in favor of Tennessee to start the week. Now it's down to 7.5.
Yeah.
This is just one of those, like we talked about, man. It's going to have to be one of those. It's no pushover game, and they're going to have to go in there and play turnover free football, and they're going to have to ignore the crowd noise, as hard as that may be, and just play clean football, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we've done all the talking about Mississippi State. The rest of the listeners will hear my prediction at the end of this show. But what is your prediction for this game this Saturday, 4:15 in Stark Vegas, if you will?
So I was hoping you were going to ask me that question, because I've talked to, especially where I work at and stuff, there's a lot of people that come in there. They're all big Tennessee fans. Talking to my brother and a couple close friends of mine, like we were saying, this is essentially a quote-unquote trap game spot for Tennessee. But, you can call me biased. People can call me biased. They can call me showing favoritism. Yeah, I'm going to show favoritism because I'm a Tennessee fan. But, I've a little bit of concern for me just how open the middle of the field has been this year for Tennessee. But, a lot of that has to do with, a banged-up secondary. Boo Carter still got some growing pains. I still think some of that happened during the summer is still kind of weighing on him a tad.
For sure.
But, you saw him last week against UAB have a really good second half, and hopefully this rolls over to this big game against Mississippi State. But if Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson were 100% healthy and they were out there, I think Tennessee, goes in there and handles
them.
Right. Yeah. But in a sense, I think this is going to be a relatively high-scoring game. I was actually going through in my head before me and you hopped on here, because I figured you'd ask me that question. I'm going to say 41-27 Tennessee. I think it's a high-scoring game. I think Joey in this offense, in a sense, like we talked about Chris Brazel or you did, I've seen a lot of people talk about, well, Joey Aguilar just throws 50-50 balls. He's not really that good of a quarterback. I'm thinking to myself, well, if you've got a 6'5", 210-pound wide receiver,
why would you not?
Why would you not? I mean, if he's down there in single coverage, man, just throw it up, and it works most of the time. But I'll try to not yap as much. But 41-27, somewhere in that range. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, but I do think Tennessee in the end gets a big time road win.
Yeah, me too, man. That's very close to my score prediction. I'll say that. The rest of the viewers will hear that in about 5 minutes. But Justin, I really do appreciate you for coming on the show, man. We'll definitely have to get this going here in the future, especially within football season. Make sure you guys go follow his stuff on TikTok at Volnatic. Justin, I appreciate you, man, and go Vols.
Yes, sir. Go Vols. Take care, man.
And once again, a big thank you to Justin Hobbs. Has become a good friend of mine. Make sure you guys go follow Volnatic on TikTok. I will post some of the stuff on the social media, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Some clips from this episode. So again, make sure you guys go follow his stuff. He makes absolutely incredible content. And again, a big thank you to him for joining the show. So like I said, you guys are going to get my prediction after he did, and I kind of agree with him. Like I said, I think it's pretty close to kind of what I'm thinking. I'll tell you right now, my prediction is 38-27, so the Vols do cover the spread, but I think this could get close early. I think, God forbid, I hope it doesn't happen, Joey Aguilar could have a turnover kind of early. This is going to be a hostile environment. He's got to be able to handle it. He's gone into Texas A&M and won with Appalachian State, so I'm not too much worried about it. This offensive line, like I said with him, has got to be composed. They cannot get behind the chains. They cannot get off schedule. The Vols have got to be disciplined in this one. So how do I see this one playing out, man? I think that the Tennessee Volunteers run the ball effectively kind of this whole game. Not by surprise, but kind of by surprise. Star Thomas looks like the best back in this backfield, in my opinion. At least the most pro-ready. The vision, the receiving upside, all of that stuff, man. Star Thomas has played like an absolute star, if you will. Sorry if that was really corny. Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis is coming off of a big game. We know what Deshaun Bishop is, man. I think the Vols run the ball consistently in this one. Kind of like you saw Georgia do with us when they came into our home stadium. I think that could be kind of a similar thing. I think Joey Aguilar is going to have a good game, though. Chris Brazzell, Braylon Staley, Mike Matthews, those guys have to be big. They've got to attack those Mississippi State defensive backs. But again, man, I cannot stress it enough. This is not just your normal Mississippi State team. Again, it will be rocking in Starkville this Saturday, 4:15 kickoff, so kind of a night game, kind of not. I guess it's basically a 3:30, but it's going to be a hostile environment for sure. Josh Heupel, these coaches and these players have to be able to hone that in. Again, we talked about it with Justin, man, but the monkey on the back of Josh Heupel of not being able to win on the road, that stat that Justin had, I didn't even realize that. 1-3 in your last 4 games on the road is Josh Heupel. Not really acceptable when you're thought to be possibly a top 5 coach in the sport. You've got to be able to win on the road. I do think Tennessee does that this Saturday, but I don't think it's as easy as everyone likes to think it's going to be. You've got to win this one before you go into the bye week, and then you've got Arkansas coming to your place. A big game. One of the big, in my opinion, no, it's not the biggest game of the year. Sorry, I forgot we lost to Georgia. But nonetheless, a very big game for the Vols this weekend. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen, what your prediction is. Let me know in the comments. I really do appreciate you guys for joining me on this Thursday edition of From the Bench Vols. I will see you guys next Monday, hopefully cheering on the Vols winning this past Saturday, and go Vols.